Professor, em entrevista que o senhor deu para a colega Janaína, sobre o segundo livro, sobre a continuação do Como as Democracias Morrem, o senhor fala da necessidade de reformar ou aprimorar certos pontos da democracia, como se o senhor estivesse colocando ali uma receita do que precisa ser feito. Sendo bem sintético, o que o senhor acha que hoje é o principal ponto frágil da democracia norte-americana?
That's a great question. The major weakness of American democracy is that it's not very democratic. We have a constitution and a set of electoral rules that were created in the 18th century. The 18th century is a pre-democratic era. There was no democracy in the world in the 18th century, and the founders of the American Republic neither knew nor believed in what we now call liberal democracy. And they feared majorities. They feared majorities much more than it turns out we ought to fear majorities. And so they created a set of counter-majoritarian institutions like the Electoral College, like the way the Senate is set up, in which each state gets equal representation no matter what the population, which is ridiculously undemocratic. And we also developed other counter-majoritarian mechanisms like the filibuster in the Senate, which forces a supermajority to pass any legislation through Congress, which makes it pretty easy for minority parties either to win power or to systematically veto the will of legislative majorities. And when you have a system in which minority parties can defeat majorities or systematically thwart majorities in the legislature, you don't have democracy. You have minority rule. Now, other democracies in the world, including in Latin America, including in Europe, have over the course of the last century or two, mostly the 20th century, eliminated or reformed most of their pre-democratic counter-majoritarian institutions. So Argentina, for example, was the last presidential democracy on earth, except the United States, to eliminate its electoral college. All other Supreme Courts in democracies in the world have either term limits or a retirement age for Supreme Court justices. Only the United States allows Supreme Court justices to stay on until they die. That's too counter-majoritarian. And it has made the United States an outlier in terms of the ability of minorities to thwart majorities. In democracies, minorities need rights, minorities need to be protected, but majorities ultimately should rule. Majorities rule in most democracies in the world, certainly in Europe. They do not always rule in the United States. The loser of the presidential election in two elections in the 21st century has governed us. The Democrats won the popular vote for all Senate elections since the year 2000, and yet the Republicans have controlled the Senate half the time. So we need to become a more majoritarian democracy like other democracies.